Oh man, you scared me. Well, now that you're here, you know, there's a lot of information out there about caring for your RV waste tanks. Today I'm going to cover a lot of the common things you need to know and some things you probably haven't seen or heard of before. In other words, I'm going to give you the whole poop scoop on RV waste tanks. Details coming up on RV Street. Okay, let's get right to it. In this video, I'm pretty much going to cover everything you need to know about taking care of your waste tanks. And I'm going to do this in chronological order. It just makes things really easy for me to stay on topic and message, and it'll be easier for you to follow along with me. So let's go into the RV and start where it all begins. Okay, let's start off with the big stuff first. The following items that I'm going to cover here do not get thrown into the toilet, okay? Now for you guys that are like me, who like to keep those special areas all nice and clean, I use dude wipes. Dude wipes are awesome. But dude wipes and any other kind of wipes, like these wipes that say flushable, these wipes do not go into the toilet. So dude wipes, flushable wipes, any kind of wipes, no, they do not go in the toilet. Now for you girls and gals that still use tampons, these are an absolute no that goes into the toilet. Now for those of you who don't like tampons and still go the old-fashioned way and always use these type, these are also a big fat no. They do not go into the toilet. Now some of you guys may still practice safe sex by using condoms. But once they're used, they also do not go into the toilet. Now there's a lot of young RVer families out there, as you've all seen. They have little toddlers, and even some of you grandparents. You'll have your grandchildren come over, and you love your grandchildren. And they may still be using diapers. Baby diapers are also a no-no. Do not put these into the toilet. Now for some of you older children that may suffer from incontinence, you can use these, that's fine, but they don't go in the toilet when you're done. Another thing that does not belong in the toilet is after you have cooked and you got a greasy pan or leftover food, these items also do not go in the toilet. The only thing that goes into the toilet is water, poop, pee, and TP. Let's say that together. Water, poop, pee, and TP. Water, poop, pee, and TP. Now, of course, you're going to be adding some black tank treatment, but we'll talk about that later. But I wanted you to remember this by that little rhyme song, right? The only thing that goes into the toilet is what? Let's do it. Water, poop, pee, and TP. All right, we got that out of the way. Next up, cleaning the toilet. Hopefully you clean your toilet often so it doesn't look like this. I mean, you've seen some of these folks in RV parks. Their toilets are disgusting. But there's more to keeping it clean than just to sit on. Now we have a flap type seal in the bottom of our toilet. Some of you may have a ball valve in the bottom of yours. Ours is operated by hand. Some of them are done by the foot. And for some of you that got those really fancy push buttons, high-tech stuff, you have to push a button to flush the toilet. But in any case, no matter what kind of toilet you have, at the very bottom, you're going to have a rubber seal. And you need to keep that seal clean because over time, you'll get toilet paper or debris or whatever that'll get around that seal, and it will not seal at the bottom of the toilet correctly. And if it's not sealing correctly, it not only won't hold water, but then you're going to be getting some of the gases that are going to be coming up through that flap or that ball valve seal and getting into the bathroom, and that doesn't smell very good. So as the toilet is continuing to flush, you use the brush and you get down in there and you clean the outside of that rubber seal. And just continue to clean. And that way when the flap or the ball valve collapses, it's going to be all nice and clean there, and it will seal, not only holding water, but preventing gases to come up from the black water tank. While you are flushing the toilet and cleaning it out, you do not want to have the fan on. If you turn on the fan, you're going to get a rush of gases from that black tank, and it's not going to be pretty. Ew! So leave the fan off. If you park your RV in storage a lot and it's staying dormant, you need to make sure that the bottom of the toilet has water in the bottom of it at all times. If you don't, that rubber seal will dry out and crack, and then it's not going to hold water anymore, and gases are going to come up, but you've just added another item on your list of something that's going to need to be replaced. You do not need to use or buy RV or marine toilet paper. It costs more. Most are not soft to the skin, and there are many other good alternatives out there. Now, I've read pages and pages of people asking the question, what's the best toilet paper to use in their RV to wipe their butt? I mean, I think some people have way too much time on their hands. So I'm going to make this really easy for you guys, because I have read all of the test results, the recommendations, the softness, the price per roll or the price per case, and all that. So here you go. It's Walmart's Great Everyday Soft. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. But on Walmart's Great Everyday Soft packaging, it even there says comparable to Angel Soft. Now, the second best option is Angel Soft. Joni and I, that's what we've been using for the past 3 or 4 years. Both of those kinds of toilet papers, they will break down good in the black tank. They're good value, they're soft, and they're reasonably priced. Now, even though a black tank is not a septic tank per se, getting a toilet paper for your RV that says septic safe is always a good idea. I'll let all of you continue the exciting discussion on toilet paper down in the comments. We also add a treatment into our black water tank right here in the toilet after we have dumped our black water tank. We use Happy Campers. It comes with a scoop and it's a powder. It helps break down solids and the toilet paper. It's a great product. Joni will take our 2-quart plastic container using warm water and 1 scoop of Happy Campers. And then she mixes it thoroughly. She'll take it right to the toilet and pour it in. Then she'll come back and add 3 more pitchers of warm water. So 2 gallons of warm water total in our large black tank. Now, in the summertime when it's really hot and that black tank really cooking, we go ahead and use a 1.5 scoops, but use the same amount of water. But remember, we have a bath and a half. So this tank here for the master bath is 41 gallons and our half bath is 21 gallons. So in our half bath, we'll do the exact same thing, only we cut the dosage in half. We buy ours in a tub like this, and this tub will last us 9 months to a year or so. They have a smaller one, but they tend to be out of that size a lot. So we just buy a tub. And of course, everything I'm talking about here in this video is in my Amazon store, and that link to our store is
down there
in the description text. So don't be afraid to go down and check that out. So all you men, come here, a little closer. I want to give you a personal tip that I practice. Joni expressed to me several years ago that it's just gross when men stand up and pee in the toilet. It gets all over the walls, it gets on the floor, and it's just disgusting. And so she asked me, Martin, would you please just sit on the toilet when you go to the bathroom? So I do. Once your wife sees that you're sacrificing for her and keeping that bathroom all nice and clean, it's going to be an awesome thing for your marriage. And you know what? That's kind of what I do here. I like giving free advice to help RV couples bond their marriage even that much closer. You can thank me later. If you find sitting is unmanly, perhaps this position will help. Now that we've covered what it takes to Martinize your bathroom and the toilet, let's go out and talk about tank sensors for a minute. So our sensors are right here. Most factory tank sensors on the market out there, they just don't work right. And most of the time, not at all. They're just not dependable. Ours don't work right and are not dependable, and many of yours probably don't work right either. So even after I dump, if I check my level tests, It shows my black tank filled, my gray tank full, my water. Sometimes this will work a little bit. It shows my LP gas. This is actually accurate. And my battery charger. This is accurate too. But as far as these two tanks right here, it's just not accurate. Now after I power wash the inside of my black tanks, after I've dumped them, those will work fairly good for a while. But in Martin's world, it just doesn't matter. You know, when you live in your RV for months and months and years, you just learn when the tanks need to be dumped. You just know. Now in our case, you can actually just flush the toilet and look straight down and put a little flashlight or something down there, and you can see whether it's full, half full, or what have you. Now there is another third-party sensor company. It's called SeeLevel. Some people have decided to upgrade their factory sensor system to SeeLevel. Now they're pricey, and it does require some rewiring but you know, if that's what you want to have, so you have accurate tank sensors, then that's what you're going to have to do, because most people like us, these sensors are just not accurate or work correctly from the factory. Okay, so all that was fun, right? Now let's go outside.
Yay!
Okay, so here we are in front of the wet bay. You know, I remember the first time I had a prostate exam and I went to the doctor. I was really young back then and I was naive. I'd never had this done before. So when I got to the doctor, he told me to bend over, and I heard him snap a glove as he put it on. And I looked over my shoulder and I said, "Hey, is this standard procedure?" And he said, "Yes, it is. Now bend over and be still." Well, I said that story because anytime you're dealing with poop or waste tanks, you want to glove up. What I do here in my wet bays, I carry a box of these cheaper nitrile gloves. And I have big hands, and it's kind of hard to get my hands in these things. I'm sure you guys have had trouble with that. So I carry a little bottle of Johnson baby powder, and I just squirt it in there like that, and it makes these gloves go on real easy. So always be gloved up. So let's talk about sewer hoses and how to store them. Let me show you how we store ours. So I made my own sewer hose storage tubes. They're mounted right here on the back of the coach, and then they go right up underneath the coach and they rest up there in the back. So the first thing I did is I bought some of this 5-inch steel vent pipe. You can find this in the heating area in Home Depot. Now in order to have these pipes rest on something in the back, I had to take some 2x4s. I mounted one here and bolted it to my storage bay here at the bottom. I made a wooden ledge, and that wooden ledge hangs way over here where the pipes can rest on. And then I bought some steel punched flat bar. You can see it right here. And I made it into two J shapes opposite of each other. Then I put in a piece of self-adhesive foam stripping to keep these things from jiggling while underway. I bolted it up here with some bolts and additional zip ties to hold it all in place. I found these caps also in another department in Home Depot. It was part of another assembly, but when I got to looking at it, I'm like, I can take this thing apart and just use this top part, drill some holes in the flange, and it fit perfectly inside that vent pipe. I made a custom bolt made out of 3/8 all thread, just like this here, and pull the cap off and secure it with a wing nut. Now this is the way I chose to store the sewer hoses. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this. After examining the way our coach was built, this was the best option for me. One thing to note, if you have a RV like ours that has the generator right here in the back, if you're looking at making some custom sewer hose storage pipes like this, make sure you do not put them underneath the generator. That's why I put that piece of wood and extended them way out so that the pipes themselves would be away from the generator that is exhausting air through here. If you block this area, the generator will overheat and it will stall. So just make sure that the storage pipes are away from that area and the generator is clear. They also have another option. I have this in my Amazon store, like everything else I talk about. It's a telescopic type of a sewer hose storage tube, and it has feet on it. You can see it right here. but you can adjust this to different lengths. Now, you're not going to probably be able to take this and just look up under your RV and it's going to be ready to go. Get it up underneath your RV, see where it'll fit, make a bracket or two, maybe install a ledge, a wooden ledge like I did, or what have you. But once that's installed, they're stored out of the way. They're not in a bag, they're not in a tub, and it's just a really nice way to keep them out of the way. So another thing about when you're buying hoses, this is the hose that I use most often. It's a very common hose. You've seen these. These are the cheapest ones on the market. I think they're like, I don't know, 29, 39 bucks or whatever. And I just use these until they begin to crack. Right here, I'll just replace it because I have tried these more expensive. You know, the heavy duty, last long. They're like twice or three times the price of these other cheaper hoses, but they didn't last any longer. I mean, I had one, the other part of this one, last about 5 months, and it blew a hole. And I said, you know what? Why am I spending this much money for a damn sewer hose, right? Here's another thing to consider when you're comparing these two different kind of hoses. This one's heavy duty. This one is a cheaper, tighter, collapsible. This one is 15 feet long. This one is 10 feet long. This 15-foot collapses shorter than this 10-foot extension. So what does that mean? Well, it means that when you put them into your tubes, I have more room in my tubes with a 15-footer in there than a 10-foot. So that's something to consider too. If you're going to build some tubes or an outside receptacle to keep them outside and not put them in a tub or a bag, the collapsibility of these different hoses, depending on the quality, is going to make a difference. Okay, so here we are at the wet bay, and I want to quickly go over my plumbing here just to give you an orientation, because every RV is going to be plumbed a little bit different. We have my gray tank valve right here, and up here we have my main black tank valve, and back here we have my half bath black tank. I've got two black tanks. The black tank on the half bath, the black tank valve up here, and the gray tank all go into this Y, and this Y comes into this place here where I put this clear 90-degree adapter right here, and up underneath here is where my sewer hose will connect. Now, the reason you have one of these is because you can see when the dumping is complete, when you back flush and all that, and you can see when it's actually clear material coming out of here. They also make a 45. It just depends on how your particular plumbing is set up in your RV. But I highly recommend you have one of these so you can actually watch what's coming out of the tanks and when you are clean. Another thing about black tanks, whether you have one or two like I do, you don't want to ever leave the black valve open all the time. You want that valve closed. Wait till your black tank is about a half, 3/4 full, something like that, and then go ahead and flush your black tank. You want plenty of volume of water and pee and all that stuff in there so that when it begins to drain, there'll be enough gravitational push to drain that tank. Dump stations, if you're in a park or you're on the highway at a pilot or whatever, and you're draining into a dedicated dump station. I don't particularly like doing that because you tend to get into a hurry. People sometimes will start backing up, you know, behind you in a line and all that, and then you begin to make mistakes. But if you're going to have to dump in that kind of a dedicated dump station, I recommend doing it early in the morning or late at night to avoid crowds, where you can take your time, do it right, rinse everything off, and you're on your way. Now, concerning the gray tank, some people will leave their gray tank valve open all the time, especially people who have a washer dryer and they're always doing laundry. Well, they don't want to be coming back and forth, draining and closing and draining and closing. If you're going to do that, you want to create a P-trap like this in the sewer hose. By creating this dip into the sewer hose, you're going to allow water to stand in that loop right there, and that loop will create a barrier. You're creating a manual type of a P-trap, and that way gases from the sewer, main sewer or sewer flies will not be able to pass through that sewer hose and into the gray tank, and then ultimately into the coach. So the bottom line is if you're going to leave your gray tank valve open with your sewer line attached, just be sure that you create a P-trap. So let's talk about the sewer hose and how it attaches here for just a minute. You see here this little rubber ring right here. You see that? You'll also have one on these 90 degrees. Over time, these can begin to leak. You can buy replacements. You just dig the old one out with a small screwdriver, clean that area out real good, take a new one, press it in there, and you're good to go. Now, I don't know about you, but I know I have trouble sometimes attaching this hose to here. You really want to make sure that all three of those prongs get hooked on there. You want to look carefully and make sure that they're on, these little hooks right here are on these tabs. When this area gets dry, I have found getting them off can be really tough, especially when it's cold. So what I do is I take a little bit of Vaseline and I rub a little Vaseline on this outside flange right here, and then a little bit on these ears. To get this off now is a whole lot easier. If you're having a hard time getting these off, that's the answer. Now let's go look at the other end of the sewer hose. That's why I like full hookups. I really try to do most of all of my dumping when I'm in a campground where I have full hookups, because most of them will have something like this. So here is the end of the sewer hose. You've seen this before, right? It's got this another 90 clear here, and then you have this insert piece, and it's stair-stepped down to fit different diameter sewer hose connections here. So you simply just take this and put that in there, screw it in, and you see these little notches right here? Those notches match up with the notches on this clear piece right here. Rotate this clear piece until it locks into that adapter, turn it around, and now it's locked into place. Another nice thing about doing this with full hookups when you have a nice dump valve like this is it has this lid right here. And what's nice about that is you can take some zip ties and you can lock this thing down and it'll hold that in place to prevent any accidents. But a lot of times you don't have this lid, right? Well, sometimes you can use bricks or rocks or wood or whatever to put weight on this so that when you pull that valve and this water starts coming out here, it's not going to have the potential of blowing off of here and blowing waste, and oh man, that would be a terrible mess. Now, a lot of times what Joni will do, if I'm in a place where it's just not secure, I'll just have her come step and put her foot on this. She'll just put her foot right here and we'll dump together, and that ensures that no bad things are going to happen. So let's just say that you don't have a fancy sewer attachment like this. You've got just a piece of concrete with a hole in it, or what have you. You can use one of these rubber tapered adapters. Put it in the hole, put this on top of that, and put your foot on it or hold it in place. And this is kind of a multi-purpose rubber ring that will fit multiple types of adapters that are in the main sewer hose. So it's always a good idea to carry one of these, because you never know what you're going to run into when you get ready to dump. I just keep mine in a separate plastic bag.
There's another type of adapter available, and it's called a flexible sewer hose seal. Because of the way my ground sewer hookup is on my winter RV site, I use one of these adapters there.
Let's talk for a minute about supporting the hose. You've seen these. These are called a collapsible ramp. Some people call them a slinky. The question is, do you really need one? Well, I suggest that you do use one, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. It supports the hose all the way to the dump area when you pull your dump valve, because it's going to get a ton of pressure that's going through this line, and if it's not supported, the hose is going to build up and begin to snake, roll out to the side, and it just makes a bigger hassle out of something that shouldn't be so difficult. So it supports the hose, it creates a natural gravity decline to the sewer, and it keeps the hose from swinging all out to the sides. And I think one of the next main things is that it keeps it off the ground and protects it from, like, I don't know, the landscape crew. They can go chopping up that thing with that weed eater or what have you, But with a ramp, it keeps it up, out of the way, and it protects it from that type of damage. So the bottom line is, do you need one? No. Should you use one? Yes. Okay, let's start dumping and flushing. You remember back in the day when you used to put a hose or something down a gas tank, and you'd have to put your mouth on that hose and begin to suck and get that siphon going to siphon gas out of a gas tank? Well, you don't need to do that when you're dumping your tanks. You do not need to remove this fitting right here and put it up to your mouth and start sucking to get the waste tank starting to drain. Let me show you the modern way to do this. Okay, when you get ready to dump your tanks, you always want to dump your black tank first. Now before I dump any black tank, whether it's my half bath or the full bath here, the first thing I do is I open up the gray tank and I open it up for a second and then close it. And the reason I do that is I want to make sure that all of my fittings here and down there are connected. I don't have any leaks. That's the way I can test that. Now we're going to dump the main 41-gallon black tank. The valve is right here. We've already tested, we have no leaks, and now we are going to open the valve. And this is why we have this clear 90-degree adapter here. We want to be able to see how it's draining and when it's through draining. So let's start draining the gray tank. We're also rinsing out all the black water out of the sewer hose. Okay, the gray tank has finished. I go ahead and close that valve. Close the black tank valve. We don't have a backflush on this coach. I've hunted high and low trying to figure out ways on how to install a backflush valve, and there just is no way. But I'll show you how I do flush out the tank using another way. Now in our RV, both of our toilets are right over the top of the black tank. So what I do is I use a wand. Now when I bought this wand, the tip right here, it actually came out about this far, about another ½ an inch or so. It didn't have a big blast of water, like a power washer. So what I did is I took my hacksaw and I cut off about ½ an inch or so, and look at the stream that comes out of this now. Look at that. With that kind of stream down in the toilet, I just rotate the wand and wash out the inside of the tank. And the way we do that is Joni will be standing outside and she'll hand me the wand up through the window right here. Then I'll pull the hose and the wand to the toilet area. I'll put it down into the toilet, turn the water on the wand, and then I rotate back and forth, turning this wand, and it literally blasts all the insides of the black water tank, and it gets it clean. It really does. And remember when we covered the sensors a little while ago? After I go through and use the wand on the tank, my sensors will work good for a while, maybe a week or two. Now for those of you who have a toilet, your plumbing may come down, make a little turn, and then down into the black tank. If that's the case, they have another device that's just like mine or very similar to mine. It has a wand with an on and off valve that you attach the hose right here, but then it has this flexible snake where you can put it down the toilet and get around that little area, and on the end it has a rotating, spinning type of a sprinkler or whatever the heck you want to call it. My next door neighbor actually has one of these and he let me borrow it for this video. So if you have straight down plumbing into the black tank, you can use a wand like mine if you don't have a backflush valve. If you have a little bit more complicated plumbing, you can use one of these. As a maintenance item, you remember this stuff here? This is the same dry silicone lube that I use for my leveling jacks. If I'm parked somewhere for a week or two before I get underway, I apply a light coat and wipe off my leveling jacks. Well, every couple of months I do the same thing here on my dump valves. As I'll just open up this valve and I'll put my hand underneath it and I'll spray and I'll wipe that on that valve, and then I close it. My valves are not hard to open or to close, and this is the reason why. So remember guys, on my main YouTube channel page, you're going to see my playlist tab right up here. click that tab. That'll take you to my playlist page, and there is a multitude of videos there that's going to show you how to take care of your RV and do upgrades and all that and save a boatload of money, because you guys can do this stuff. You can do 80 to 90% of the maintenance and upgrades yourself and save a boatload of money, and I show you how to do it. Everything that I've covered in this video, like every other video I do, is in my Amazon store. And the link to my Amazon store is
Down there.
in the description text. When you use our link to go to our Amazon store, everything I use and what you need is in my store. But here's an important tip. When you use our link to go to our store, let's say there's something you want to buy that's not in our store, or you thought we carried it in our store. It doesn't matter. Shop on Amazon like you normally would, put it in the cart, and check out. It's a great way to say thank you, Martin, for taking the time to make these videos and help the RV community. So the next time you're in a bad mood and you want to go out and dump on somebody, take it out on your RV instead and dump those tanks. So until next time, this is RV Street. Stick around.